Hey lovely people, welcome back to the channel. Today we're exploring a pretty delicate but important topic: how to gently recognize when someone close to you might be feeling some hidden negativity. Inspired by the wisdom of Jung. Before we dive in, just a quick reminder, this video is meant to help us understand, not to judge. Emotions are complicated and everyone goes through their own battles. It's always best to handle these situations with kindness and honest, open conversations. So here are 20 signs that someone close to you might be quietly struggling with. Some negative feelings. Number 1, consistent avoidance. One of the biggest signs that someone might be pulling away is when they start consistently avoiding spending time with you. This doesn't mean they're just busy every once in a while. It means they regularly come up with reasons not to meet or hang out, even when there's no clear or urgent explanation. You might notice that they cancel plans last minute, don't reply to messages for long periods, or just seem uninterested in making time. This pattern can feel confusing or hurtful because it sends a message that spending time together isn't a priority for them anymore. Number 2, cold or dismissive body language. Body language is a powerful way people communicate how they feel without saying a word. When someone is pulling away emotionally, their body language often changes. They might avoid eye contact when you talk to them, cross their arms defensively, or even physically turn their body away from you during conversations. These small but consistent signals can show they're feeling distant or uncomfortable. It's important to remember that these signs don't always mean something bad, but when combined with avoidance, they can indicate a shift in how connected they feel. Number 3, sarcastic comments. Sometimes people use sarcasm as a way to express their feelings without being completely direct. They might make remarks that sound like jokes but actually feel a bit hurtful underneath. These comments can come across as dismissive or cutting, leaving you feeling unsure if they're really joking or trying to say something deeper. It's a subtle way of creating distance, and if you notice this happening often, it could be a sign they're pulling away emotionally. Number 4, minimal communication. Another common sign is when communication starts to feel minimal or just surface level. Their replies might be very short or delayed, and it can seem like they're only responding because they feel they have to, not because they want to. Conversations might lose their usual warmth or flow, making you feel like you're carrying the effort alone. This kind of minimal interaction can be frustrating and is often a sign that their interest or emotional investment is fading. 5, lack of support. One important sign that someone might be pulling away is when they stop supporting you in the way they used to. This means they rarely cheer you on or celebrate your wins, no matter how big or small. Whether it's a promotion at work, a personal achievement, or even just something you're proud of, their excitement or encouragement starts to fade. Support is a key part of any healthy relationship because it shows that the other person genuinely cares about your happiness and growth. When that support disappears, it can feel lonely and discouraging, like they're no longer invested in your life or success. Over time, this lack of encouragement can create emotional distance and make you question how much they really value your connection. 6, ignoring boundaries. Another significant sign is when someone begins to ignore your boundaries. Boundaries are the personal limits you set to protect your emotional well-being and comfort. When someone dismisses your feelings, brushes off your concerns, or crosses lines you've clearly established, it shows a lack of respect. This might look like them not giving you the space you ask for, pushing you to do things you're uncomfortable with, or simply not listening when you express how certain behaviors affect you. Ignoring boundaries can create tension and hurt, and it's often a way people emotionally distance themselves without having to address issues directly. In any healthy relationship, respecting boundaries is essential because it builds trust and shows genuine care for each other's feelings. 7, gossiping. One of the more hurtful signs that someone is pulling away is when you start hearing from other people that they might be saying unkind things about you behind your back. Gossip is especially damaging because it spreads negativity and breaks down trust without giving you a chance to address any concerns directly. When someone chooses to talk about you instead of talking to you, it often means they're emotionally distancing themselves or avoiding an honest conversation. This kind of behavior can leave you feeling betrayed, isolated, and unsure about what's really going on. It's important to pay attention if multiple people mention these things, as it might be a signal that the relationship is shifting in a negative way. 8, subtle undermining. Subtle undermining is another common but tricky sign of emotional distance. It involves small, often indirect actions or comments that cause you to second-guess yourself or doubt your own decisions. This could be things like backhanded compliments, dismissive remarks, or questioning your choices in a way that feels more critical than constructive. These moments might seem minor at first, but over time they can chip away at your confidence and make you feel less sure of yourself. People sometimes do this unconsciously when they're pulling away or as a way to create distance without being openly confrontational. If you notice that you're feeling more confused or insecure around this person than before, it's worth considering that subtle undermining could be part of the issue. 9. Frequent criticism. When someone starts pulling away emotionally, one of the ways it can show up is through a rise in constant criticism. You might notice that most of what they say to you feels negative comments about how you act, what you say, or even how you think. This kind of feedback often isn't constructive or aimed at helping you grow. Instead, it feels like it's designed to point out flaws or bring you down. Over time, this can be incredibly discouraging and even damaging to your self-esteem. Everyone makes mistakes, and healthy relationships involve honest feedback, but when the balance tips and you're getting more criticism than support or encouragement, it can signal a deeper emotional disconnect. It may not always be harsh words, it could be a tone, a look, or passive-aggressive remarks, but the underlying message is clear. They're pulling back, and perhaps losing patience or compassion. 10. Exclusion. Another painful but powerful sign is when they start excluding you, whether that means leaving you out of plans, not inviting you to important events, or simply keeping you out of meaningful conversations. You might find out through others that something happened and you weren't told, or you realize they made plans with a group you're usually part of but didn't include you. This kind of exclusion makes you feel invisible, like you don't matter to them the way you used to. It's not always done maliciously, sometimes it's subtle, like no longer asking for your opinion or updating you about things they used to share. But regardless of how it happens, the emotional effect is real. Feeling left out consistently can wear down your sense of connection and belonging, and is often a strong indicator that something in the relationship has shifted. 11. Insincere smiles. Sometimes, the biggest clues aren't in what someone says, but in the subtle expressions on their face. One of those clues is the insincere smile. It's when someone smiles at you, but it doesn't quite reach their eyes. The expression feels forced, more like they're putting on a mask of friendliness rather than genuinely expressing warmth or happiness. These kinds of smiles can leave you feeling unsettled, even if you can't explain exactly why. You might sense a change in the energy between you. What once felt natural and real now feels hollow or rehearsed. Over time, if most of your interactions start to feel like polite performances rather than genuine connection, it could be a quiet sign they're emotionally withdrawing. Our instincts often pick up on this kind of shift, even before we consciously recognize it. 12. Changing topics. Another subtle but powerful sign is when they regularly change the subject whenever you try to open up. Whether you're sharing something that's been on your mind, expressing how you feel, or simply trying to have a deeper conversation, they quickly steer things in another direction. It might seem like they're uncomfortable with vulnerability or just disinterested in truly connecting. While occasional distraction is normal, a pattern of avoiding emotional conversations can be a form of emotional distancing. It sends the message, whether intentional or not, that your thoughts or feelings aren't something they're willing to engage with. Over time, this can make you feel like your voice doesn't matter in a relationship, or that there's no safe space to be emotionally open. It's a subtle but significant way someone can pull away without ever saying it out loud. 13. Lack of empathy. One of the most painful signs someone is emotionally distancing themselves is a lack of empathy. When you open up about something personal, whether it's stress, sadness, or even just a bad day, and they respond with indifference or a dismissive attitude, it can feel incredibly isolating. Instead of offering comfort, they might brush it off, change the subject, or act like you're overreacting. Over time, this kind of emotional coldness can create a deep divide in the relationship. In close, healthy connections, empathy is essential. It's what allows us to feel safe, seen, and supported. When that emotional responsiveness fades, it's often a sign that the other person no longer feels as invested in your well-being. It doesn't always show up as cruelty. Sometimes it's just a blank stare, a quick "you'll be fine," or no response at all. But the lack of care is unmistakable. 14. Blaming. Another clear sign of emotional distance is when they begin to blame you, often unfairly, for things going wrong. Instead of working together to solve issues or taking responsibility for their own actions, they shift the blame onto you. You may find yourself being held accountable for situations you had little or nothing to do with. Over time, this dynamic can become emotionally exhausting, leaving you constantly walking on eggshells or second-guessing yourself. This kind of blaming behavior can stem from avoidance, defensiveness, or even deeper resentment they haven't communicated. Regardless of the reason, constantly being blamed erodes trust and respect in any relationship. It's not just about who's right or wrong, it's about whether the other person is willing to take responsibility and handle challenges in a healthy, respectful way. When that willingness is gone, it's a strong indicator of emotional disconnection. 15. Overly competitive. In healthy relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or professional, there should be a sense of mutual support. But when someone starts becoming overly competitive with you, it can signal an emotional shift. Instead of celebrating your achievements, they try to one-up you. Instead of listening, they redirect the focus to themselves. You might share good news, and rather than feeling happy for you, they respond with something like, "That's cool, but I actually," or, "Well, I did something even better." These subtle moments turn into a pattern where it feels like you're constantly in a quiet competition, not a supportive partnership. This dynamic can create emotional distance because it erodes the sense of safety and connection. Over time, it may feel like they see you more as a rival than an ally, and that can be exhausting. 16. No effort to resolve conflict. Another major red flag is when they show no effort to resolve conflict. Every relationship has disagreements, but what makes them stronger is the willingness to work through issues together. When someone avoids tough conversations, refuses to clarify misunderstandings, or shuts down emotionally when problems arise, it often means they're emotionally withdrawing. You may find yourself being the only one reaching out, trying to fix things, or apologizing even when you weren't at fault. Over time, this kind of avoidance creates resentment and deepens the emotional gap. Healthy conflict resolution takes effort, honesty, and vulnerability. So when someone consistently avoids that process, it suggests they may no longer be committed to maintaining the relationship in a meaningful way. 17. Negative energy. Sometimes, the biggest signs are in what someone says, but in how they make you feel when you're around them. If you start to notice a constant tension, discomfort, or a heavy energy whenever you're in their presence, that's something worth paying attention to. The atmosphere might feel cold, judgmental, or just off, even if nothing is openly wrong. You might feel like you're walking on eggshells, hesitant to speak freely, or like you're being silently judged. This kind of negative energy can slowly wear you down, making interactions feel draining instead of uplifting. When someone is emotionally checked out or harboring unspoken resentment, it often shows up in their tone, body language, or the unspoken energy they carry. It's not always about dramatic arguments. It's often the quiet tension that speaks the loudest. 18. Secretive behavior. Another strong indicator that someone is pulling away is when they suddenly become more secretive. Maybe they used to be open with you, sharing thoughts, plans, or feelings, but now they guard information or avoid certain topics. You might notice them quickly changing screens, hiding their phone, or giving vague answers when you ask simple questions. It's not always about hiding something serious, it's about the shift in openness. Emotional closeness requires transparency and trust. So when that openness disappears and secrecy takes its place, it often reflects a growing emotional gap. This behavior can leave you feeling disconnected, anxious, and unsure of where you stand in the relationship. It's not about controlling someone's privacy, it's about noticing when they no longer feel safe or willing to share with you. 19. Favoritism. One of the most difficult things to notice, but hardest to ignore, is when someone starts treating others with more warmth, kindness, or attention than they give you. This kind of favoritism can show up in small ways, like how they speak to others with more patience, how they light up around someone else, or how they make time for people while constantly putting you on the back burner. It may not be blatant, but over time, the contrast becomes clear. You feel like you're being compared, undervalued, or simply overlooked. This shift in treatment can deeply impact your sense of self-worth and your trust in the relationship. It's Not about being the center of their world, it's about feeling equally valued. When that balance fades, it can be a strong sign that emotional distance has taken root. 20. Gut feeling. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, sometimes you just know, even when there's no obvious explanation or clear proof, your intuition tells you something is off. Maybe it's how they look at you, how they speak to you, or the way the energy between you has changed. Your gut picks up on subtle shifts long before your mind can logically explain them. And while it's important not to jump to conclusions based only on feelings, it's equally important not to ignore them. That quiet inner voice often reflects deeper awareness, especially when you've been emotionally connected with someone for a long time. If something feels wrong, trust yourself enough to look into it. Your intuition exists for a reason. If you notice some of these signs, remember, it doesn't automatically mean this person hates you. Emotions are complex, and there's always more beneath the surface. The best way forward is honest, compassionate communication. And if things feel heavy, don't hesitate to reach out to a counselor or someone you trust for support. 2. Quote Carl Jung, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people." Thanks so much for watching. If this resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more thoughtful content. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever experienced any of these signs? How did you handle it?